No idea on how to shift gears? I'm going to show you 3 different ways to change gears today. What's up guys, I'm Dakota Freeman and welcome to the Rad Adventure Dude channel. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and hit that and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future riding tips. When learning how to shift gears, we're going to use our 3 main controls. We're going to be using our clutch, our throttle, and our gear shifter. The tips I'm going to give you in this video are going to get you through this stage of your riding and really push you out on the trails to get you even faster. So before we even get into shifting gears, where are all these controls located? Let's go ahead and cover that on the bike so we know exactly what we're working with when we're trying to shift gears. 2 of our main controls that we're going to be using when shifting gears are going to be located on the handlebars. The first one being the throttle, the clutch, and the third one is going to be our gear shifter, which is located by our left foot. You're going to be using all these controls at the same time to be able to shift your gears the smoothest. So let's go ahead and cover the order that we're going to use all these controls. It's very important when learning how to shift your gears that we use our clutch every time that we're shifting. Whether we're shifting up or shifting down, using the clutch is going to make it smoother and also much better for your dirt bike. When we're first starting out on our dirt bike, we're going to have to use the controls to be able to get us going into motion. The way we do this is using the throttle and the clutch, and you're going to use them simultaneously. What I mean by this is as we're letting the clutch out, we are also going to be using a little bit of throttle to go ahead and get the bike into motion. So the first thing we're going to do is pull in the clutch. This is going to make sure that whenever your bike is going into gear, that it doesn't just jump into gear and stall the bike. So we're going to pull the clutch in and we're going to use the gear shifter by our left foot and tap it down. Most of the gears on these bigger bikes are actually going to be the first gear down, second up, third up, fourth up, etc. And neutral is going to be found in between first and second at a in-between gear. So when we're first starting, we're in neutral, we pull our clutch in, we're going to tap the gear shifter down to put it into first gear. This is when we will start to let the clutch out and at the same time apply a slight bit of throttle. You're going to see that we don't need much throttle at all to get this bike rolling into motion, just a little bit to get it going. The second thing you're going to want to do is get comfortable with where you're letting your clutch out and the bike begins to roll into motion. This is a huge part of learning at the beginning, because if you know where this spot is, you know exactly where you need to start putting on the throttle to get the bike going. So when you let the clutch out and let the clutch out, let the clutch out, eventually you're going to feel the RPMs of the motor go down and you're going to feel the bike wanting to roll forward. At this point, apply just a slight bit of throttle and let the clutch out the rest of the way, nice and smoothly. As soon as you let the clutch all the way out and you now have the throttle on just a little bit, you're going to be rolling into motion. So now that we're in motion on our dirt bike, how are we going to shift our gears? Well, now that you're in first gear, you're going to hear the RPMs of the motor get pretty high as you just turn on a little bit of throttle. So to go ahead and get us up into second gear, which is going to be a much easier gear to learn how to ride in, is going to be the same thing we did at the very beginning, except now we're going to let the throttle off. We're going to pull the clutch in. We're going to use the gear shifter to shift up into second gear. You will then release the clutch all the way. Since you're now rolling into motion, it doesn't really matter that you let it out slowly with the throttle on at the same time. As long as your bike's moving, you can let the clutch out without having the throttle on. And then once the clutch is released completely, you will then get back onto the throttle and be going in second gear. I think personally that it's much easier to learn in second gear because the first gear has a lot of torque behind it, and just a little bit of throttle really gets a lot of acceleration going out of the back wheel, and it just kind of makes it a little bit harder and more aggressive riding at the very beginning. So getting into second gear, which has a little bit more speed but has less torque and acceleration behind it, I believe makes it easier for you to learn when you're just starting out on your dirt bike. If you're excited and feel more confident on your dirt bike shifting, make sure you go ahead and like this video and drop some comments down below. So now that we're in second gear and we're rolling on the straightaways on our dirt bike, how are we going to shift down back into first gear to be able to bring the bike to a stop? So it's going to be very similar to shifting up through your gears, except now we're going to reverse the order and go down through the gears. We always want to make sure that we're going to be letting off the throttle when we are shifting gears. Just like before, we're going to let the throttle off. We're going to pull the clutch in. This time, instead of shifting up, we're going to make sure that we shift down back into first gear. As we release the clutch, we don't need to have the throttle on like we did when we first started because our bike is rolling in motion. So at this point, we are now going to be back into first gear and we can get back on the throttle as needed. So as we shift down and let the clutch back out, you're going to feel the motor actually trying to slow you down. And depending on what kind of bike you're on, a 4-stroke, 2-stroke, it's all going to be different, but you will feel this motor brake trying to slow you down. Especially on a 4-stroke, you're going to feel a lot of torque out of the motor, and it could almost push your body weight forward on the dirt bike. So just be ready for that as you're shifting back down through your gears. Make sure you're not going super fast and then you just boom, throw it down into first gear. Kind of slow down before you're going to make this shift. That way, whenever you get into first gear, the torque of the motor doesn't affect your body that much. And when doing this, you'll want to use your upper body to be able to kind of resist the forward motion that it's wanting to throw you in, and just be prepared for it as you continue on your dirt bike riding. So now that we've shifted back down, we're in first gear. How do we bring the bike to a stop? This is where I see a lot of beginners go wrong. They get on the bike, they start rolling, and they don't even know how to stop the bike. Let's go ahead and learn how to stop the bike before we even get on it. So as we're in first gear and we're still rolling, the easiest way to stop your dirt bike is going to be just to simply pull the clutch back in and then focus on letting the throttle off. This way you're just going to start coasting, and use your back brake, which is located by your right foot, and you can use this to drag you to a complete stop. Once you have come to a complete stop, you're still in first gear, you want to go ahead and put the bike in neutral. So on big bikes like this, it's going to be in between first and second. So when we're going in between these two gears, you just slightly, not all the way into second gear, just slightly tap the gear shifter up. If you feel it click into second gear, you miss the gear. So you're going to want to go back to first. Find this happy medium spot, and once you think you've got it into neutral, you can let the clutch out. And right when we started, you know how you felt the bike going into motion? Well, now if you don't feel that as you're letting the clutch out, that's how you know that you actually got it into neutral and you're not still in one of the gears, and as you let the clutch out, it stalls on you. So now that we've put the bike back into neutral and we have stopped, we have successfully done it. We have put the bike into first gear, we let the clutch out with the throttle simultaneously, and we took off riding. Then we used the clutch, the gears, and the throttle to be able to shift up into second gear and to get into an easier gear to learn how to ride in. Once you rode around for a little bit, you put the bike back into first gear and you brought the bike to a stop. That is going to be the biggest fundamental of riding, because now you have all the keys. You know how to put the bike into gear, you know how to get it rolling into motion. You know how to shift up and down through your gears to get into different gears for where you're riding at. And you can bring the bike to a stop. So before you get into a bad situation, just go ahead and bring the bike to a stop. So guys, I am super proud that you are taking this time in your dirt bike riding to become a better dirt bike rider. All it takes is time and practice. But knowing all the fundamentals of how to use these controls, how to shift gears, is going to really make you a much better, safer, and faster dirt bike rider. So be sure to practice this over and over, as you will soon become so confident on this part, you no longer even have to think about it. So are you struggling with your dirt bike riding and need more help? Well, I'm always here. I have made a dirt bike course that will walk you through step by step everything you need to know from going from a beginner dirt bike rider to an advanced rider out on the tracks and trails. So make sure you go over to my website and check that out, as I really believe it's really going to increase your riding level and get you to become a better dirt bike rider. So So go ahead and click on the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future content. After that, you can watch my next video on how to master your clutch right here. The link's going to be down in the description below. Stay rad, and I'll see you guys over there.
Yep, I said that.